The thing didn't just win, it already had the bottle. For 40 years, fans have debated who survives John Carpenter's masterpiece, and the answer is not in the blood test. It is in the final drink. Picture the scene. MacReady spent the third act filling J and B Scotch bottles with gasoline to make Molotov cocktails. Those bottles were weapons. Now imagine this. At the end, he hands one to Childs. Childs drinks it and laughs. No flinch. No recoil from burning fuel sliding down his throat. Human taste buds would reject gasoline instantly, violently, without hesitation. An imitation that has only learned to mimic the act of drinking has no reference for what Scotch tastes like. MacReady's laugh is not relief. It is nihilistic defeat. He is sitting beside a monster in the freezing dark, and he has just proven it with a single sip. Childs exhales no visible breath in the cold air, something every human body does automatically. If you were MacReady, would you toast the end of the world, or use your last match right then? Stop scrolling. You just let him in. Most people think Fallen is a 90s thriller about a body-hopping demon named Azazel. They are wrong. It is an invitation. From its first frame, the film narrates in Detective Hobbs's voice, pulling you close, gaining your trust. But by the final scene, the truth shatters. Hobbs is dead, and the narrator was Azazel the whole time. Notice the final line as the cat stares straight into the camera. See you around. Azazel transfers through touch and proximity, and in a world where digital media is our primary contact with reality, the screen is the ultimate bridge. Witnessing his story counts as contact. The song, "Time Is On My Side," plays throughout as a rhythmic trigger, conditioning you to receive him without realizing it. Azazel said he almost died. He never said he was gone. He is simply waiting for the credits to roll so he can move into the only living thing left in the room. You are still watching. You have been listening to his voice this entire time. That would be you. The goat was innocent. The daughter was not. For over a decade, audiences have watched Thomason as a victim of a crumbling family and a devil lurking in the trees. But what if we have been looking through the wrong lens? What if she did not become a witch at the end, but had already been one from the very first scene? Consider the baby's disappearance. Thomason is playing peekaboo when Samuel vanishes. The hag in the woods is never witnessed by Thomason, only by the audience. Is that creature real, or is it her projection, a scapegoat given flesh? No one noticed that she is the only family member who stays calm and clean while everyone around her fractures into madness. She uses the twins' imaginations as cover for her own rituals. Black Phillip whispers, "Live deliciously," but here is the darkest truth. This film is not a tragedy about a girl lost to evil. It is a coming-of-age success story for a predator who cleared the farm so she could live deliciously. The contract was open long before she signed the book. If these theories are already changing how you see these films, hit subscribe, because the next theory is already waiting in the dark for you. Look at the skeletons in the vault. You are watching the fourth attempt, and it will not be the last. Vandero's line about being pawns in a perverse play was not a joke. It was a realization. The corpses outside the vault are not random looters. They wear the exact same clothes as the main characters: the scarf, the necklace, the specific weapons. Inside the vault, 3 AK-47s lean against the wall, the exact model Guzman carries, meaning he has died there at least 3 times before. Even the heist planning montage is suspicious. Characters who appear in it bailed on the actual mission. That footage was not an imagination. It was a recording from a previous loop where things went differently. Here's the catch. Vandero carries an Omega brand on his chest. He survives the nuke, spreads the virus, gets captured, and becomes Zeus, patient zero from the very first scene. He laughed on the plane because he finally understood. The bite was not a curse. It was a return ticket straight back to the beginning, to becoming the king he just killed.
Those statues aren't decor, they're crows who failed to find peace. A supernatural bird resurrects the dead, granting one final chance at justice. But what happens when a crow fails, when darkness swallows the mission before the targets fall? They do not simply die again, they are petrified. The stone gargoyles perched on rooftops across Detroit and Los Angeles are not architectural ornaments. They are the frozen remains of crows who lost their way, bound to the sites where they failed to find peace. Look at the curved gargoyle in City of Angels, its human-like features locked into eternal agony. That is grief calcified into stone. The necromantic energy holding them alive hardened the moment the crow was killed or the mission abandoned, turning flesh cold and gray. Once a century, when crime hits a boiling point, those stone hearts crack awake. They do not rise to protect. They hunt new crows, driven by jealousy for the second chance they wasted. Every statue on a Gothic rooftop is a hero who gave their soul. We didn't witness a defeat, we witnessed a cosmic metamorphosis. The Losers Club believes they killed Pennywise with insults and collective will. But how do you kill a god with words? You do not. You terminate a pregnancy. According to deeper lore in Stephen King's mythology, Pennywise is a larva. The deadlights are not its true form. They are a cosmic umbilical cord connecting a developing embryo to the macroverse, that infinite darkness beyond space and time. It did not fall to Earth to hunt. It was laid here like an egg in a perfect nest. The 27-year hibernation is not sleep. It is digestion and growth, the same molting rhythm found in deep-sea predators preparing for metamorphosis into something vastly larger. Children's fear is the specific fuel this larva requires, pure imaginative terror unmixed with adult dread. By looking into the deadlights, you are not seeing it. You are staring into the lure of a creature that has not yet opened its eyes. And if Pennywise was just a larva, something far larger is coming. Mina isn't a reincarnation, she's a soul being rewritten by force. Coppola frames Dracula as the ultimate romantic, a man who crossed oceans of time to reclaim lost Elizabeta. But look closer, and the romance fractures. Mina Harker is not a reincarnation. She is a blank slate, and Dracula is manufacturing her. His shadow moves independently, acting out his predatory desires before his polished exterior acknowledges them. That shadow is not a gothic gimmick. It is his true self operating while the charming old prince persona keeps Mina seduced. He targets her through Lucy first, destroying her support system before touching Mina directly. Isolation is a cult leader's first move. Then comes the blood ritual, and when Mina starts remembering lives she never lived, those are not surfacing memories. They are hallucinations Dracula projects into her mind, erasing her and sculpting Elizabeta in her place. He is a necromantic sculptor, and her selfhood is the clay. When Mina kills him at the end, it is not mercy. It is the last act of a woman realizing her soul is being deleted. You are not seeing a clone. You are seeing the past, and thousands of ways the chosen one can die. Everyone loves Ash Williams, the chainsaw-handed survivor who refuses to quit. But the Necronomicon is a trap built for one bloodline, sprung countless times before. What if forgetting Klaatu Barada Nikto was not Ash's first mistake, only his most recent? Every time the timeline fractures from a failed attempt, a dead Ash stays stranded in the past while the book pulls a fresh one forward. The mirror sequence makes this visual: tiny ashes spilling from a shattered reflection, a soul fractured across dimensions. Evil Ash is the distilled essence of every past failure given a face and fury. And those skeletons in the army? Look at their coordinated aggression and familiar fighting style. They move like Ash because they are Ash, what remains after the loop recycles him. The Necronomicon does not want to destroy the Chosen One. It wants to harvest him endlessly. If you were fighting an army of your own failures, would you win, or would you join them?
That glass case isn't a trophy room, it's a spiritual containment field. For years, audiences assumed Annabelle is the source of the horror, the vessel that must be neutralized. The Warrens knew better. They kept her locked in a blessed glass case, not as a trophy, but as a seal. Annabelle is not the monster, she is the prison. The doll acts as a spiritual battery, a construction pulling every dark entity within its radius toward a single point, storing the collective fear of everyone who looks at her. Notice how she does nothing for long stretches. She is charging. The Mullins father, the doll maker in Annabelle creation, did not build a toy. He accidentally constructed a perfect geometry acting as a perpetual ritual channel for the demon Malthus. Destroying the doll would shatter the cage and release every ounce of stored terror at once. The doll is not the problem. It is the only thing keeping the real monster small. Every image of that doll you view contributes fear to the battery. You just logged in. The plagues were not a curse. They were a reset, and we stopped the only force trying to save the planet. For decades, audiences watched Imhotep as a villain unleashing ancient horrors on the modern world. But what if that framing is itself the horror? Break down the plagues methodically. Water turning to blood, a biological purge of invasive pathogens. Locust swarms and boils, a brutal culling designed to produce a hardier surviving population. Darkness, a hard pause on the industrial acceleration Imhotep saw coming from 3,000 years away. He was not a monster. He was a temporal guardian, buried deliberately by priests who knew civilization would eventually collapse under its own weight. The Hamdai was not a punishment. It was a sleeper agent protocol designed to wake him when the world became too loud. It triggered in 1923, with the Great Depression building and another world war on the horizon. Rick and Evie were not heroes. They were obstacles who stopped the one force capable of hitting Earth's reset button. We protected a corrupt future and called it victory. Who is the real villain now? She is not in the house. She is in the victims, and you are already on the list. Most people believe the Grudge is a traditional haunting, a spirit bound to a location by logic of proximity. That framework is wrong, which is why no one survives it. Kayako Saiki is patient zero for something that behaves less like a ghost and more like a sentient emotional virus. Her death was so violent, her rage so pure, that it crystallized into a self-replicating code. The moment you enter the house, it downloads into your consciousness. Watch the victims in their final hours. They mimic Kayako's movements, that croaking death rattle scraping out before the end. The virus is not haunting them. It is rewriting them, overwriting their form with the source code. Notice how Kayako appears in past, present, and future simultaneously. The house is a server where all moments exist at once. There is no original Kayako left. What we see is the collective scream of every person the curse consumed, each one making it stronger. One day, the overwrite will be total. The village is not hiding. They are farming him, and you just walked into the trap. The warning the boys received at the slaughtered lamb was not mercy. It was a ritualistic marking of prey, time to release them after the moon rose and the wolf was hunting. Picture the pub. The name above the door, the pentagram on the wall, every patron watching two Americans walk out while saying nothing. These people have lived alongside this horror for generations. The village does not fear the wolf. They need it. Every generation they lure a specific outsider into the moors to be bitten or killed, rotating the curse through fresh bodies so the village bloodline stays clean. The wolf is their border guard, their sin eater, a weapon against the modern world. Jack's ghost urging David to kill himself is not compassion. It is the village's final instruction to its current crop. Spread the debt into London. Buy another generation of safety. While Piccadilly Circus burned, those villagers sat warm and silent. David was never the monster. He was the offering.
Earth is just a farm, and harvest time is here. The tall man has operated in the background of human history for centuries, moving through funeral homes positioned on weak spots in reality, harvesting corpses and vanishing through portals before anyone pieces it together. He is not a grave robber. He is a resource scout, a middle manager in a cosmic corporation processing Earth as one of millions of corpse farms. The Sentinel spheres are quality control drones, extracting essential data before the body ships out. The shrunken dwarves are not cruelty. High-gravity compression adapts soft human biology for brutal conditions in his home dimension. Morningside funeral homes are distribution centers built on ley lines to minimize energy costs. When one tall man dies, another replaces him instantly, because he is not an individual. He is a unit, a replaceable component on an endless assembly line. His most famous line is not a threat, it is a marketing slogan. The afterlife is not a spiritual journey. It is a mandatory career change, and humanity was hired by force without ever being asked. The girl was the bait, the priest was the prize, and the church let the devil in through the back door. Everyone remembers the pea soup and the spinning head, the horror of a child's body weaponized by an ancient demon king. But those were distractions. Pazuzu does not waste a millennium of power on a 12-year-old unless she is bait for something more valuable. Why Regan? Because her suffering was the only lure powerful enough to draw Father Marin and Father Karras into the same room. Pazuzu spent the film stress-testing Karras, mocking his dead mother, exploiting his dissolving faith, searching for a vessel holy enough to matter but cracked enough to break. When Karras screamed, "Take me!" the demon did not flee in defeat. It leveled up. By entering Karras at the moment of his suicide, Pazuzu secured a permanent holy host with a priestly pedigree. In Exorcist 3, Karras survived the fall, his mind shared with the demon itself. The exorcism never saved Regan. It helped Pazuzu find a better suit. If you think you've reached the end of the mystery, remember the truth is only visible to those who keep watching. Don't let the shadows close in. Join our coven and subscribe to seal the ritual. See you in the next one, if you're still human.